Welcome everyone once again to Total Nonstop Impact Talk for Impact fans right here on the YouTube, the Twitch, and wherever you get your podcasts worldwide. It's just myself tonight. It's Bill solo. Last minute, I thought I was going to have at least one partner in crime tonight, but sorry, it will only be myself. But the show must go on, as they say. So I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight, and you never know. Who knows what will happen as we get through the show here tonight, as we celebrate 2025 and another year of TNA wrestling, and then Impact on AXS TV and the Plus app, and wherever you're getting your content. Hey, to all of our Canadian friends on the big new deal up there on Sportsnet. So congrats to everyone watching up there. Looking forward to that. Let us know if you are watching it on a new service. But before I start, definitely want to thank obviously our members on YouTube, and obviously anyone that leaves tips or bits or anything on the Twitch. First, Dr. Gerbs here. I noticed he did a super chat before we started. One fall both for these guys, both these guys. Laugh out loud. Happy New Year. My prediction for 23, either Crazy Steve or 25. Crazy Steve returning for the DMC, or it sounds like the She Skunk's cousin. Well, back to work. Have a good show. Thank you, Dr. Gerbs. Much appreciated. See a lot of the crew in the chat here. I see Antonio. I see Mayor. Eli, Eric, T. Hughes, Anna in the chat. Happy New Year, everyone, as we are going to be talking about the January 2nd edition of Impact Wrestling on AXS TV and the TNI Plus app. Before we get too far into it, we'll go over some news out there. The first one that we got, obviously, just yesterday. Or actually it was New Year's. Yeah, New Year's Eve. We got it New Year's Eve, so the day before. AJ Francis, a first class, re-signed. Not a real surprise there. Great to see. Big fan of AJ since he came over. Obviously wasn't that familiar with him before he got here, and great to have him on the roster for another year. Just coming off Final Resolution, fighting for the belt, former DMC champ. But a guy that always is putting the company over. Obviously a heel, helped put it over AJ. Obviously AJ put over Joe Hendry. Big to start this year. So first class, I'm looking forward to it. I'll actually be seeing KC at a local show on Saturday. So looking forward to that. Maybe he'll have some first class merch. Maybe grab a shirt. Let's see. And feel free, obviously, since it's just a solo show, feel free to drop anything in the chat. I'll try to, as I'm coordinating everything, try to jump in there when I can. Anna, thank you very much for the super sticker. Pair character turning around, waving his hand, saying, "Hey, you," while lowering his glasses. Oh, okay, thank you. Barry Monkey in the chat. Good to see you, Barry. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Last seconds here. Okay. But yeah, feel free to obviously hop in there. We know a lot of stuff now. Obviously, now we're on a mad dash to Genesis. Now only a few weeks away. And then that'll be followed up by a live episode of Impact. So it's gonna be an interesting time for TNA as we go through 2025. We know, obviously, as we talked the last episode, because we did our kind of final run through, not last week, but the week before. Like, obviously, free agency, we kind of know on that. Obviously, a lot of the rumors and potential that we've hit for a while on people leaving. I know pretty much when we said it, I think we all thought Mike Bailey was probably heading to AEW. That seems like that's more out there, not confirmed, obviously, but it seems like that's the way it was going to be from the beginning. I know Jade, obviously Alexander, the ring announcer, who also's contract expiring, talking about being a free agent, but obviously Josh is still with the company. We'll see how that plays out as we get into Texas. If there is a return of maybe a previous ring announcer, obviously we know Christy Hemmy's with the company. Obviously, friend of the show, the incomparable David Penzer, or maybe they go in a whole nother direction. You never know. And thank you for the chat for giving us big reminders to hit that like button, smash that bell for notifications, for you can make sure you always get at least some of the TNI crew content whenever they are available. But hopefully this is just a 1 week hiatus, and then it seems like everything, like colds, flus, everything's going around. So I know some people are down and out, and then there's other people still with busy schedules as we're coming out of the holidays here. But as I saw, let's see here. Oh, I saw Rayline. Good to see you, Rayline. The sports that move in Canada is a big deal up here. I agree. Like that's a huge deal. I know there's rumblings right now, obviously, about the India deal, like the Sony 6 deal, obviously, WWE, that TNA has been part of before, which at the time was their most lucrative deal internationally. Hopefully that's something maybe that can be revisited. Obviously, then deals for both the UK and possibly another branch there on another network in the US. I think, obviously, with these big plans, I know Tommy Dreamer was on Busted Open, was talking about breaking that attendance record this year by playing the 10,000 seat venue in LA, and then obviously going 17,000 plus potential in New York. So this is the year. This is the year to do it. They got a lot of things in place, but I got to imagine there's even some bigger things that we're unaware of to get possibly crowds of that size and these TV deals. So big year. Because I'm so tonight, going to be a lot of Diet Icy tea. But news-wise, they're kind of the big ones. Obviously, there's some matches made. We'll talk about them more as we go through the card, the Genesis matches that were made. But I do want to shout out another piece of news because it's a friend of the show, Blacksmith apparel. We know we had heard about it. We got the teases. We saw some of the jackets during Final Resolution. But officially, the Blacksmith TNA Wrestling Collection launching January 19th. And they have a sneak preview right now on their site. Check out their socials. We'll make sure to get it in the description after the show. But just in case you don't know, it's BLCKSMTHAPP, Blacksmith app. Go there. You can then follow. That'd be on the Twitter or the X. And that will take you, and you can kind of get an idea of the different. Obviously, they have the jacket, the full suit, and a football jersey. So, looking forward to that. I know people have been asking for that for a while. So, very cool. Very cool. Barry talking about, obviously, with that Canada deal. Obviously, they're a Canadian company. So, I definitely see them going back. From what I was hearing, obviously, last year with Slammiversary, I think them getting so many people for Slammiversary itself will get them another event this year. Not sure which event it will be, because obviously we know a lot of the shows up through Slammiversary. Like obviously the next big one would be would they get Bound for Glory? Maybe I could see that happening. If not Bound for Glory, I would think another a plus special would be in the cards for sure for either the same venue in Montreal or another venue in Canada, or maybe multiple. Maybe they'll have. I could see them doing obviously like Bound for Glory and Alive. Maybe not like one in Montreal, maybe one in Toronto or Ottawa or another part of Canada. So yeah, definitely something to look forward to. If I had to put money on it, I would lean in that direction. Honestly, that'd be Canada, unless we hear more about another deal that might happen. Because I don't think it'll be next year. I think the UK big show will probably coincide with a TV deal going into probably in the 26 at this point when we're talking about big shows, since a lot of it's already planned out already. But I think it's happening. I think we're getting there. We're seeing it, and obviously a lot of things have been put in place with upper management for these, specifically for these deals, these TV deals. So we'll continue going there. But now that we went through that, just see if there's any other, we can talk any other news as we kind of go through it. I won't get bogged down because I know a lot of time could get bogged down in news. So I'll just kind of, once again, hit any more topics as we go on here. But we'll dive into the show. Why not? We're not too far in, but let's take a dip, if you will, into the January 2nd edition of Impact Wrestling. Well, Impact, the show, TNA Wrestling, on AXS TV. And let us know your thoughts as we go through it here. Obviously, you see in what we have advertised here for the big 8 knockout main event. But we start with in news, because it's the guy in the ring. The NXT moment of the year goes to Joe Hendry. So congrats to Joe for not only winning his awards in TNA, but NXT. Now, that's obviously a guy not contracted to the company, although we know he's working out down there at the Performance Center and things like that. But that's a nice little kudos to Joe. So good job, Joe. But we do get him to start the show in ring, kind of giving us about going to Genesis, starting the Joe Hendry era to get that world title. But then what happens? He's interrupted. We thought he was gone, but he just comes back. And that's Ryan Nemeth. The Ryan Nemeth story, if you will. The end. But he's back there to stick up for his brother, baby brother. But going all after Joe, saying he's not a hero. He's a mid-carder and a snake. Are you kidding me? But then a great line by Joe saying that, hey, he's the janitor. And then when he keeps coming for more, he goes, the doctor told him if he's having trouble sleeping on the plane, just get a little bit of the Nemeth comedy hour. Get a little Nemeth comedy. I'll put you right to sleep. Which, fair, very fair, very fair. But old Ryan there was talking about that he was going to have a match tonight with the Hall of Famer Rhino, the War Machine. And Joe, the matchmaker, says, well, not later tonight. You're going to have it right now. And then confirmed by Tom and Matthew Raywald ringside that Santino agrees. And there we go. We get the music. So we start out with Ryan Nemeth versus Rhino. And obviously we knew the story broke by, obviously, Rhino himself going into these tapings that he was finishing up, we believe, with TNA Wrestling. So is this his last match? Who knows? It could be. And it could be versus Ryan Nemeth. So we get the match here. Goes a little back and forth, but it seems like Rhino's in full control. But it gets a little out of hand because Rhino, reverting back to the old ECW days, decides to use a chair in the match, and that doesn't fly in TNA unless that's part of the stipulation. So disqualification by Rhino, and Ryan Nemeth gets the win over the Hall of Famer. Say what? What's going on here? Yes, he is Barry. He's a whiny character. Honestly, this is probably the best use that they've so far had of Ryan Nemeth. It's very believable. Roger asking about Lei Ying Lee. We will see her. Once again, I think that obviously you bring somebody in, you got to decide how you kind of want to interject them in the storylines and everything, and you will see. You will see. I'm sure as we get into this year, I think you'll see more of a push, especially if everything we believe about Jordynne kind of going off probably to NXT towards the Rumble or therefore after. There's going to be some openings obviously on the show, so I think you'll see that around that time. Just taking a look at some of the suggestions here in Canada. Toronto. I actually have been where the Raptors played in downtown there. That would be similar, obviously, to the size there. But yeah, no, the venues, obviously, all the venues that kind of are out there, because obviously I wasn't even thinking going into this year, some of these size venues. So obviously now everything's open, because a lot of times I would look at towns and be like, all right, they could play here, maybe here. Now it's anything's really on the board. It's the smaller venues are probably out of there, unless maybe a TV taping, but they're not even going that small there anymore. So definitely want to give a shout out here. I see Mayor here mentioning that Jack Stain, rest in peace, who passed away. Obviously NWA, but he had a long running tag team in the past with Crimson of the TNA past. And I have gone to a number of NWA events, and I have seen Jack Stain wrestle before. So definitely rest in peace there, Jax. But he had a good character, good look in the ring, like fit well in that tag team with him. But yeah, it's sadly we see this too much in wrestling. But it's one of those things that definitely want to give the acknowledgement to those in the business that were really putting in the effort to try to do something and make it. T Hughes, that is I am planning to be there. I am planning to be there. Oh, set up the signal. I see a critical sting. The effects of Ryan getting his chin checked by JBL at BFG. And let us know. I know JBL has been posting all the images of him working out and looking like a wild man back in ring. Do you want to see JBL in ring? Do you want to see him as more of a authority figure? Do you not want to see him at all? Like what do you want to see with a certain JBL? I know I've been saying it for a while. It's one of those things. It's got to come to a point in Texas. But does it end in Texas, or does it keep on going? Does he just get involved in a finish? Does he turn Nick heel? Does he help or not help in him retaining and then Joe Hendry winning, vice versa? Or does he get involved in some type of authority role? Or because we still kind of had the red herring of never finding out why Frankie Kazarian got some of the things he did by someone on the board. Who is that someone on the board? So yeah, let us know. Let us know what you think about JBL. Eli with Nick Nemeth saying in an interview that the new signees are coming in. Which signees would you want to see though? Interesting. I know we've talked about this a lot, and it's always coming up. Right now, like it's tough to tell like who's like reasonable type expectations on who, but obviously looking at some of the venues, I think like you could have big expectations on possibly some people. Like I know we've talked about it. We got the tease during when he was given the award on TV, but like Mustafa Ali, I think there's a very good chance we see Ali returning, and I think that'd be a good addition. Bring him back. I know we've talked about the formerly known as Baron Corbin. I'm not a huge fan of previously. I think he got pushes. They weren't successful for the most part. Like once again, that's a guy I'm sure like sort of like Nick Nemeth. Like Nick Nemeth was years ago at the top of the card, but you knew he was a great worker and stuff like that. It depended on how you used them. Like just don't put him at the top immediately, let him go there. But he's proven to be a great fit. But someone like Corbin, I don't see him in the main event. They'd have to do some real great character work to make him believable, I think, in a main event in TNA. So I have hesitancies. Like I think, because I think if you sign him, he's got to be a main eventer for you. And I just don't know if that'd be the case. That feels like a TNA of way back, like 2014 TNA. Let's try that, and it won't work. I always use Aaron Rex as my go-to for stuff like that. It just didn't seem like it was going to work. Didn't work, and that feels very similar. But let us know in the chat. Like, there's no one specifically. There's a few people I see on indies here and there, and those would always be good. Like as we've been seeing Maggie Lee on Explosion, I think she'd be good to bring in full time. Like obviously I was always talking about Tasha, so that's already there. But is there game changers? I think there's ones you could develop and maybe turn into something. But right now, I don't know if there's really like people on the street that I would consider like you got to get them. I think it's more you're waiting on some of these other contracts to expire for some people. And maybe as we get into next year, that could happen. But like even looking at like some of the other promotions, like obviously if you want to talk AAA, and I know there was rumors of another injury, but Vikingo, like that would be one that I still want to bring in. Obviously, you got to see what the health is with them right now. But that's somebody I'd obviously be very in favor of bringing in. Beyond that, like, I don't know Megan Bain's situation right now, if she is available, because I know she was kind of under some type of AEW thing but she never really came over. But I would definitely look at bringing her in too, if available. But they're the couple names I'll say for now. There you go, TJ Perk. Always a fan of TJP. Gabe Kidd, David Finlay. Oh yeah, they become, and they're the types like some people that would become free agents like New Japan and stuff. David Finlay, I'd be very interested in. I think he has a ton of potential. So, get back to the shoe. So after that opening match, we get Gia Miller backstage with Jordynne Grace talking about Tessa Blanchard and pretty much her trying to pretty much say like it's her division and stuff like that. And Jordynne saying, hey, I'm the one that's putting in the work. And like Tessa just can't take this back over. And she's gonna give her what she deserves. So looking forward to that very much. We get the Rascals backstage with the Hardys, who offer them a tag match at Genesis. So there we go. We're talking about matches, and there we go, and we get a match I think we've all kind of been waiting for. Is like it was ABC and the Hardys. Now it's let's get what we needed. Rascals versus the Hardys. Like the tag team of kind of TNA today in the last so many years, and then obviously the Hardys, the legends. More names on what people will be interested in seeing there. Just give some highlights here. Megan Bain and the Tonga twins. Okay. There's more Macklin Santanas and AJ Francis roaming around and catering in another company that'd be good in TNA. There's no doubt about that, Sting. And that's kind of one of the things. Like, I think that's what you really got to look at is some people in deals currently in both WWE and AEW that aren't currently being used. Like, obviously, AJ Francis, once again, promoting the brand wherever he goes. At the Cheez-It Bowl, as I like to call it, the Cheez-It champion, once again. But who's there, obviously? Steve Backlund, Deanna, our 4 Bird Knockouts, multi-time champion. And that's somebody they've used her now a little bit recently with Taya, but not a ton. But that's somebody that was so much better in TNA creatively that would be, once again, when you have Tessa back and you're talking about knockout, like she could fill a great role at some point. It would make too much sense for her, obviously, to rejoin at some point. And that's the thing. Like, but sometimes you'd say like you wouldn't see that, but obviously we saw it. We saw it with Taya. Like these. Luckily, a lot of the people that leave TNA, there's not bridges being burned. There's usually like they give them good. Like you saw, Santana had a great write off. The Rascals had a great write off. Mickey James, I know we've talked about, like, if you're talking about people like that could sell seats, get TV ratings, like she's one of the only women out there that could do that. So that's like another one I'll always throw out there. Oh, do want to, because I did see that Eric Isaac, rest in peace, Jack State, and Sweet Daddy Sika. I did see that as well. No bone man tonight, Eddie. The bone man is a working bone these days, so his night schedule sometimes gets in the way here. So sadly, with the holidays and all, could not make it work tonight. But I'm thinking we'll be good for next week with J Bone. Yeah, Norris talking about, and I have seen him now a few times. Zilla Fatu, he'd be a great one. I'm sure he's going to wind up in WWE. But if that's somebody, maybe pre NXT, they wouldn't even give her a little run through TNA. I wouldn't be against it. I've been a fan of a lot of those. Maybe people that have had 3, 4, 6 month runs. So hopefully. Talking about Ty and Deanna. Yeah, like that's the thing. You got to be part of the history of the company. Like I think that's one thing TNA does well throughout whoever's in charge. Like looking back at their history and bringing people back, like giving them other chances. And it's not like all pure nostalgia. I think it's definitely something that you can utilize that helps both the performer and the company. So I do like to see that. But let's get into our next match. That would be Ace Austin representing the ABC, Chris Bay, defeating KUSHIDA with the fold because, come on, nobody kicks out of the fold. And then after, cuts a promo where he's talking about the support for Chris Bay, and saying that Bay told him it was time for him to win the world title. But then who do we get? Moose, the X Division champion, coming out, taking offense, saying, hey, why aren't you talking about me? I got the top title. And then this is where we've been talking about in the show that people took the wrong way, trying to spoil it, and the dirt sheets running with it as their fake wrestling news, that the X Division was going away. But saying that pretty much that he was going to well, let's just say pretty much you got to go through Moose. You got to go through Moose, Ace Austin here. And that belt, like, it is the identity of TNA, like the X Division. But he was trying to take Chris Bay's name, and Ace wasn't having it. So Santino comes out, he makes the match at Genesis. But we'll get more and more into Moose here. But this is kind of leading everything going into it here. But that's what Moose has done since he's become champion. He's pretty much saying this is the top belt. Since I have it, it's the top belt. He's not treating it as much like the X Division belt as obviously previous champions have. He's going his own way with it. We go backstage with EY, Macklin, and Gresham, saying how frustrated they've been over the past couple of weeks with the system. But how frustrated they've been in the system. We go right into them talking about wanting to get their titles back. And then they get into a brawl. So you get the running into the backstage shenanigans going on. So I'm sure we'll see that fall out soon enough. Then we get the Nemeth brothers arguing with Rhino before Santino books a tag match between them. Joe Hendry then appears, say his name, and offered to be his partner, and then it's official. So we're going to be getting a tag match. So Rhino's not done yet. Rhino and Joe Hendry against the Nemeths will be coming up. We get Mike Santana coming down to the ring. Once again, killing it on the mic lately. Saying he's the standard TNA, which obviously gets Josh and the Northern Armory to come out. Pretty much saying he's not the guy. But then he kind of goes places, Santana, talking about, like, obviously making inferences to the coach, the more, on why he was the guy, which is a little shooty, which definitely gets some heat there. And then he goes after. Say, I feel bad without J-Bone here. He goes after the head. He goes bald on him. And the fans kind of get on Josh about that. So then we get Jordynne Grace, because obviously they're in Atlanta, center stage, and waiting in the kind of the parking area, like that's underneath there, for Tessa. But instead they get Masha and Spitfire saying the match is next. And that then Santino's there, says security will handle it. Oh, yes, Mayor said Santina did have the headgear with him. It feels like we've seen that before. Like, that's like a Josh Alexander trope. Like, if you're feuding with him, you wear his headgear in some way. I remember Hammerstone was doing that, who did have his surgery. So obviously wishing Hammerstone the best. Hopefully a successful and as quick as possible recovery. We get Frankie Kazarian, so-called king, talking with Leon Slater. He offers mentorship to him. But which Slater sort of accepts. But then Kaz says he can carry the call your shot trophy. But then he says he's not going to be his young boy. Got to respect that. And Kazarian keeps kind of going into that saying like, hey, I was the one. I did it all before you. And then he's pretty much saying, hey, I could just, he's like, you did what you did, but I can go through you. Then you get the JDC out of nowhere, just appears, who starts putting over Slater. But that he might be missing something. So we'll see where this goes. I'm a big Leon Slater fan, a huge like JDC. Give me more. I think give him a mic, let him talk. That's always good. And Kazarian's doing a good job right now. Because I feel like there was a point last year where I was like a little too much Kazarian. Like I felt like he showed up on every segment. But used the right way, I think Kazarian's obviously doing a good job. Just like anything else, don't want to do too much of it. Like you have that worry with Hendry too, but I think they're finally tuning that with like Hendry. I think they've kind of got right on. So then we get the world champ Nick Nemeth coming out, where he says he's going to do anything to win and steal the show. And then he's looking forward to his tag match with his brother against Joe and Rhino. And then we get Ryan again, who's still talking about how frustrated he is, doing his whiny whine, as everyone was pointing out in the chat, which so we'll get that next week, obviously. We'll get that next week. But that's going to lead us in. We're talking main event time. Here. The 8 knockout main event. You got Jordynne Grace, Masha Slamovich, the champ, and Spitfire, Dani Luna and Jody Threat against Ash by Elegance, Heather by Elegance, Rosemary, and Tasha Steelz in this match here. And good match, good back and forth, a lot of things going on, but obviously, Jordynne Grace and Masha, they get the win, like with Spitfire, so the faces get the win here. But after the match, what happens? We finally get her. Tessa Blanchard shows up and attacks Jordynne after the match, and then obviously all hell's breaking loose in the ring. But then Tessa carries Jordynne to the backstage area and gets her in the parking lot, saying she's going to reclaim her locker room. How about that? Oh, Mary wondering, I wonder who attacked security. Who could it be? I don't know. Is that something we'll see? Will there be some type of storyline with possible others? Could there be is it not just a solo run from Tessa? Could she have reinforcements in this run that's helping her with some of this? Maybe. Let us know in the chat who it would be, if there is any. But that's most of the show. That's our main event. Let us know your thoughts. Obviously, we've had to wait a few weeks here, and that's you can always point that out. Like, I think for this year, I'm hoping we tighten it a little bit, maybe get that to 1 week of the best of. Um, Obviously, with a holiday, like I was telling the Discord link in the chat, hop in there. I almost actually went live on New Year's Eve, and I was going to do a watch along with the New Year's Knockout Eve from 2009. One of the, like, I bring that back. Should do it yearly, or at least when it's close enough to a holiday. And I think the same thing probably with, like, there was the IPWF, which wasn't done this year. But it's funny, I was watching an interview back with that just popped up on my timeline, and it was with Tasha at WrestleCade a couple years, quite a few years ago now. But it was like right after that first IPWF show, shortly after that, and like how much fun, like they were pretty much talking about like how great that was. Like they all loved doing that. So I think something like that would be good for like maybe like Wrestle House, like these things. Like you don't have to have a typical show, but I think like you can do one best of show. I think beyond one is tough in today's climate. So that's what I would try to probably do. Now I know she's kind of talking like that, like free agent Tasha. I'm sure there's some type of agreement out there. It'd be tough. Like personally, I would say yes to a long-term deal because I've just always been a Tasha fan, but because of the history, I could see obviously some hesitation on that. Like maybe if you do it as option year, sort of like Josh is getting extension, like the company has options, like something like that. But I have a feeling we're going to be seeing her for quite a while, which I'm obviously a fan of. But yeah, let me know your thoughts as we're kind of heading into the show here. Like obviously I jumped on this solo tonight, so didn't get a lot of chance. So definitely please get it out there, share it around. Hopefully I didn't get a lot of chance to promote it. I'll probably promote it after the fact. But yeah, definitely hopefully we can get, as we get into 2025 with TNA, which we're expecting a big year. Hopefully more people will have eyes on TNA, and us here at TNI. Obviously, we're boosters for the company. We want the company to succeed. But obviously, if there's something we're either not liking or think maybe could be a better direction, we'll let you know what we think. Because once again, we think that's us expressing our opinion is what's best for the company, hopefully, because we want to see them succeed. So let us know. Let us know what you think, and hopefully more, like just like when we had during the NXT. Hopefully we see more of that partnership. Let us know about that, because obviously it was near the end of the year, so we didn't get a lot going with NXT. I'm thinking that could play a big part in what we see this year. Like that makes sense if you're getting possible people, like everyone keeps wanting to say, like the AJ Styles appearance maybe at some point this year. But if you just get more of an NXT appearances throughout this year, maybe starting in Texas. Yeah, and once again, like I know there were some names mentioned, but feel free to drop names in the comments after the show, because I know there's a ton of free agents out there. Like I've seen a lot of them over the years. Although honestly, with how much TNA's been going on, I haven't seen nearly as many indie shows as I normally do. I'll actually be seeing one this Saturday, which I'm glad to, and I'll see good old Casey Navarro in first class. But yeah, let us know, because there's still a ton of talent out there on the indies, and that's always good to bring in for sure. But I think now TNA, and you got to be careful, like just like all these companies that continue, like they'll add talent but not have anything for them to do. TNA does a great job of using nearly everyone on the roster. And I think that's something that you need to do, because a company like TNA, yeah, like, are they probably in a better financial space than they probably have been in quite a few years? I would say so. But you stay that way because you're not potentially paying a ton of money to someone that you're not even going to use. Um, Obviously, people like the Hardys, Moose, like these people are AJ Francis. A lot of them are like, you're getting all that back. So that's fine investments. But if you're making a huge investment and then you don't even use the person, that's something like, but some indie type talents, yeah, you can probably bring them in and like, you're not going to risk breaking the bank too much. But some of these other names we talk about, and they have maybe some credence out there, then it's all a negotiation on what they can really bring, because we've seen it in other companies. Now, sometimes that's on the company. Like I said, a lot of times it's not even on the performer, because if you give them the right gimmick and they succeed with it, you can get a lot of people over. Like Joe Hendry, look at that. Jordynne Great, like these people are about as over in the business as you can right now. So they can do it for sure. But there's not that many people that you can get in and they just like bring the business with them. That's tough. That's a tough call for almost anybody. So we'll see. Like, once again, I think it's going to be a big year for TNA. I think you're going to see a lot of new names probably coming in, because that's what happens. Every year you're going to have a shift. Some of it will be at the main event. Some of it will be in the mid card. Some of it will be in the lower card. Some will be in the knockouts, the exhibition. But I definitely would like to see like some more international, especially as they look to maybe go these places. Like, if they're going to go India deal, do you hinder with a little Jinder Mahal? It's a big name. Plus, I'd like to see, I'm always a softie for Shera. I like Shera to get more of a run as a monster heel only. So once again, UK, there's still some great UK talent out there. Obviously, we've had a good Canadian influence, but that's always a strong place to look. Yeah, we've talked about New Japan free agents. Same thing with a lot of luchadors in Mexico. I think there's some definitely some talent to look for too, no doubt. So we know they're doing it. They're always on the lookout. They're always trying out new talent. But right now, I think a lot of the divisions are pretty solid. Obviously, I think we have a feeling that we'll see some departures, namely probably Josh and Jordynne in the next few months. But those are like, especially Jordynne, but now Tasha helps that a lot. And the main event scene, which has been very strong lately, will help obviously with Josh. So that's how you have to do it in the business. You have to be ready. You have to have people step in and take these spots. So right now they're doing a great job. Looking forward, because this is the biggest year of TNA. I think since I've been watching. Like, I've been at shows where people all thought the company, like, I was at a show where everyone thought it was the last show, and there was gonna no longer be TNA wrestling, and it survived. It kept on going. So yes, like, they're like, just operating and stuff has been important, but they're taking a risk this year by playing those big venues. They're putting, like, there's money out there. It's a risk reward scenario, and they're taking a big risk that hoping it pays off. And you just don't do that without putting as much as you can into it. So I think obviously they have plans, storylines, talent, promotion, TV deals. I think there's a lot going into why they're even going further than I expected them to start this year. So definitely looking forward to see what they'll do. But yeah, I think we got most of the comments addressed. I see some more names getting in there. So yeah, definitely continue to do that. So on the comments, hit the Discord. If you have not been there, please sign up. Don't feel like you gotta, like, some people obviously are more active. At times it was so active in there, and that's fine. It can be as active as you want to be. It doesn't even have to be all wrestling or just TNA related. Can get into pretty much anything. So definitely welcome that. You'll see me comment in there from time to time, but a lot of the times I'm just lurking around in and out. But once again, I want to thank everybody as we enter another year of TNA and TNI, because now I've been here for quite a few years on the TNI show. But always glad to see the TNI fam. Thank you all once again for another year of support. Can't do this obviously without you. We love TNA wrestling, and that you guys all support us doing it. That's always a great thing. Because obviously I thought, like, obviously I grew up, WCW was probably my lead one as a young child, with WWF like kind of right behind it. Seeing some stuff on TV that wasn't local was always fun. And then ECW, Eastern Championship Wrestling, started, and I was going to that with my dad, and that was great. Did that for years. And then kind of, I'm the opposite. I've said it before. I'm not an attitude era. And it might just been my time in my life that was like late high school, college. So I tuned out for most of the attitude era. I kind of knew roughly what was going on, checked in from time to time, but was pretty much out of it. But then pretty much like ECW ended, so I was kind of aware of that. And then not long after, I heard about this TNA company starting with these weekly pay-per-views. And I started catching that from time to time. I didn't see them all like live originally, but then I started seeing some of the names and being like, oh, this is cool. And then started watching some of them. And then I really was getting into it. And then obviously when they got TV, and then with Spike, I was getting really into it. And then obviously at this point, this is now by far now my number one promotion. So nice mix of obviously the territories and a little bit of all these errors. I think they do a great job of kind of mixing that, even though no matter who's in charge. So good to see some other names as we've kind of come into a close here. Bonus Baby, yeah, solos tonight. I normally don't like to do the solo booth, but if we didn't do it tonight, I didn't know when the show was going to happen, and I don't like risking it not happening, because I was talking to a friend and person I've worked with for a number of years that always watches the show, and was saying, like, last week, like during the holidays, it's like, you had 3 shows drop. It's like I was able to listen to all of them, which is always great to hear, because I've known a lot of you in the chat for a long time now. So once again, appreciate all the support. As we're signing off here, let me see what TU's has to say about Explosion. Garrett was hinting that the old Explosion may be coming to TNA Plus. I hope so. And interesting thing going on right now with all the changing to the streaming platforms, obviously, of WWE to Netflix and AEW with Max and all. It, like, right now, if you want a back catalog of something, TNA Plus, I don't know if there's a better place to go for a company. But hopefully we get even more content. But once again, everybody, it's been a great night, nice Thursday. Once again, check out the links in there. You see I got the We Heart Chris Bay shirt that I picked up at a TNA show. That was North Carolina. Definitely want to get there if you can support anything, or if you can even just put out the links on any socials. Definitely want to keep continuing to support Chris Bay. Hopefully, I know with just with it, like with any type of neck surgery type injury, it's going to be a long road. But hopefully he can get he could get healed from that. Like I said, put like in ring back burner. That's not the most important thing right now. Just get healthy, get right, and then hopefully get from that, and maybe then you look at possibly a return there, which obviously would be fantastic. But just want him to get better. Wish the best for him as we enter the new year. And then we'll obviously see you next Thursday. Maybe we'll do a special show somewhere in between. You never know. But the UK guys, they'll be on next Wednesday, giving all their thoughts on this episode. So definitely check the UK and we'll give them a shout out because the TNI UK social media pages, Facebook and Twitter, they put over the review of Final Resolution. So kudos to the lads overseas. But once again, this has been Bill from TNI with the January 2nd review and news. Thanks to the TNI fam for joining me, and we will see you next time. So don't forget, if you haven't, hit the like button, ring the bell for notifications, subscribe if you aren't already, and join the Discord for weekend talk when we're not live. So once again, everybody, thanks. See you later.